Live Kabbalah is a non-profit organization founded for the distribution of the wisdom of Kabbalah and its values. Learning the original principles of this wisdom can reconnect us with the true values of our society, including the belief in the dignity and freedom of man, democracy, and the freedom of speech.
Hello everyone, we're in Parashat Shemot, Exodus, starting a new book, a new volume in the 5 books of Moses, the book of Exodus, the biggest saga in the history of mankind. We're not in a story of a little family, now it's a story of a nation. A story that gave millions and millions of people inspiration about life, about the meaning of life, the meaning of freedom. Let my people go is not just something that happened so many years ago. It's still, that message is being carried for so many years afterwards. So what is this book about? What is this parasha about? What does it mean for us? The name of the book is in Hebrew, Shemot. Shemot means in Hebrew so when we read the book, which is the book of Shemot, and it says Shemot, what does it mean to call, it sounds to call this a name, the book of names. The word Exodus, which is getting out to freedom, sounds much better than the book of names. However, we will see how is this connected. But first of all, the story of this parasha, this weekly parasha, is about the coming of the children of Israel to Egypt and how Joseph passed away and there was a new Pharaoh that did not know Joseph, and he started to be afraid that the Israelites are getting too many and this minority is going to finally either become a majority or they're going to join our enemies from the outside. And so let's be smarter and let's put them under military control. Let's make them slaves. Meanwhile, as they're being slaves and they're going through a lot of troubles, one of them that every male born has to be thrown to the Nile, and they build all kind of projects for Pharaoh, being slaves, making bricks every day. So then we come to the birth of Moses. Moses, because he's a male born, has to be thrown into the Nile. His mother is concealing him in a little box. Makes it sail on the Nile, and it comes to the daughter of Pharaoh that she adopts the boy, whoever saw the movie. And Moses grows up in the house of Pharaoh as one of Pharaoh's family. And finally, when he's 40 years old, he comes out to see the miseries and the suffering of his brothers. It looks like he finally realizes that these are his brothers. And we see an Egyptian beating up a Hebrew, and he kills the Egyptian. He runs away for his life. And Moses is leaving Egypt, and 40 years he's traveling around Africa and the world. Finally, in the end of the 40 years, he comes to Midian in the desert, and he meets over there Tzipporah and Jethro. And over there, he marries Tzipporah. And just as they're starting to build a family, he gets a message, the burning bush in Sinai, Mount Sinai, saying, time has come for the redemption. Go and tell the people, tell the Pharaoh, let my people go. Moses does not understand the story. How can I do it? How can I bring them out? I'm not so good speaking. How could I be a leader? And God says to Moses, who gave human beings a mouth? If I'm telling you, you can be a leader, you'll be a leader. So don't bother with that. Finally, God is giving him some miracles to do. A miracle with the staff, a miracle with healing leprosy, and a miracle with turning water into blood and back into water. And then he sends Moses to Egypt, to Pharaoh. He comes to Pharaoh. First he comes to the Israelites. He shows them the miracle. He says, God sent me to deliver you out of bondage to the back to the promised land. Finally, Pharaoh, not just that he does not say to Moses, oh, of course, you want all my slaves, big part of my economy, to be released? No problem. I'm going to give you even compensations, benefits, all kinds of stuff like this. No, that's not what Pharaoh is saying. Pharaoh is saying, oh, you want freedom? It means that you're lazy. You have time to think about freedom. Next time, from tomorrow, before today, till today, we brought you the straw. When you make the bricks from mud, we brought you the straw. The straw is holding the bricks together. Now you have to collect the straw by yourself, and the same quota. So the story finishes when Moses is so upset because he doesn't see it's getting better, it's getting even worse. The Israelites are being beaten up because they don't meet the quota. And then Moses is coming to God. And he's saying, God, why did you bring so much damage to these people? Why did you send me? From the moment I came to Pharaoh to talk in your name, it became only worse. And you did not save your nation. Whoever thought redemption is so easy? So, this is basically the story of the Parashat. Now, if we go to the Zohar, the story is like the story from the beginning. First, what we see is that Rabbi Ashlag, in his commentary on the Zohar, saying, and he's asking the first few lines, what's the issue of the Egyptian exile in Kabbalah? Which means it's in spirituality. Yes, there was a story so many years ago that happened, but that was so many years ago. And when a Kabbalist is reading a story, he's not into history, he's not into nostalgia, he's not into all kinds of, see, we have a proof that we are so and so because we have such a history. That doesn't talk to the Kabbalist. Why? Because the Kabbalist is talking to the deepest need of a person, which is, what's in it for me? Because, nice stories are good sometimes are not. Tradition is good sometimes it's not. All kinds of stuff of history and interest, some people can afford it, some people cannot. If we're talking about, this is the 5 books of Moses, the Word of God, it has to have an eternal message. Something that is good every time, all the time, to everyone. And if we are talking a story just to have that, this is the tradition of how the law was brought on Mount Sinai or something like this, it doesn't make, it's not impressive. And this is why we can say that during our days, when you have a market economy, people go when they feel they get something. Even a temporary thing, but they get something. And why people don't go to the synagogues, churches, and so on anymore? Because in places they are not forced to do that. Because they don't get something out of it. And what should they get? This is the story. So now, studying the book of Exodus, we're starting a new journey. If the book of Genesis was a journey of coaching ourselves into being a human being, the book of Exodus is the next stage. Okay, you realize you're a human being. Now, be aware of your limitations and go above it. What does that mean? So, the question is like this. Again, what Rabbi Ashok is asking, the whole Egyptian exile has to do with inner meaning of spirituality, with my soul, today, right now. If I don't see the relevance of the story for today, for my life, it's irrelevant. It doesn't mean anything for me. So the easiest way to see it is to go. Rabbi Ashok is going to a deep commentary, and we'll go to it later on. But we'll start with Rabbi Chaim Vital, the student of the Ari, Rabbi Isaac Loya, in the book of Likutim, Sefer Likutim. He's saying as follows. We know that the Torah has 70 different ways of interpretation. We know that even 600,000. One of them is remez, which is the clues, the hints, the hinting that there's something deeper behind just a story. And here, the coming down of the children of Israel to Egypt, it hints to the baby. When the baby is still in his mother's womb, in a narrow place is Mitzrayim, Egypt. And then it says, so what are the names of the children of Israel mentioned over here? These are the forces of the soul that are coming into the body of the fetus. As he grows physically, then the same time that the body is growing physically, the soul is not coming in one shot, but the soul is coming in little by little, because when the body is really small, only a small part of the soul can come in to the baby. And also after the birth, the more the baby, as the physical body grows, it shows on the physical level that can be perceived by the five senses, that when the physical body grows, also the spiritual part of the soul grows within the body of the child. In the same way, the body has 248 parts and 365 sinews. So the soul itself. And these are the forces of the soul coming to Egypt. And that's why when we read the English translation, when it says, these are the names of the children of Israel coming to Egypt, and that should be who went to Egypt. Why in present tense coming to Egypt? In Hebrew, Habaim Mitzrayma. Habaim is not just present, is continuous present. It's ongoing. What does it mean? Because the forces of the soul are coming to us all the time. It's something that happens all the time. So, they starting to Jacob that are coming into the fetus when it's still in his mother's womb. With Jacob. Who is Jacob? We learn in Genesis that Jacob is the good inclination. And said that they are coming in present tense, and not that they came already before, because God, according to Zechariah chapter 12, verse 2, is creating the spirit of a human being inside himself. As it says, as long as a human being keeps on growing, so the soul keeps on getting into him during his life. And this is why it says in Shmuel, the book of Samuel 1, chapter 2, verse 2, that it says there's no holy like God. What that has to do with us? Because when people have the holiness within them, they're not holy from themselves, but because God by himself is giving us the powers of holiness, and it allows us, when we do, to overcome and elevate ourselves above the body connection, which is all the evil inclination that make our lives miserable. So then it says, so we continue, as the fetus grows on, so the soul within him is getting bigger parts of the soul are coming in. And that's why he said, coming to Egypt. Because the forces of the soul, they're coming in slowly. And then, during the birth, that he becomes a human being, klomar, complete body, then ish uveito ba'u. The person and his home and his house are came. Which is the body, who is the house for the soul. Then they came, especially all the forces within the body. And then there's a new king to Egypt. Who is the new king? The evil inclination. The evil inclination is a new king, which is, as it says in the book of Proverbs, and we spoke about it, he is an old and silly king. Old because he's coming first, and silly because if we listen to him, we really mess up our lives. And this one does not know Joseph, which is a hint for the Holy Blessed be He, God. And he says to his nation, which are the forces of impurity, the forces of the body, hear the nation of Israel, which are the powers of the soul. They are going to be much bigger than us. They are growing and growing. They are threatening us. So what do? Let's build arei miskenot. Let's build concentration camps. Let's build cities that will put them in these cities and make them suffer over there. For Pharaoh, which is the evil inclination. And Pharaoh has the letters of Ha'oref. Ha'oref in Hebrew means the neck. Stiff neck. What is stiff neck? Somebody does not want to open up and to learn and grow. And what is these cities of concentration camps? This is the body, to make the evil inclination stronger. The names of the cities were Pitom. What is Pitom? That's one of the cities. The name was Pitom. Pitom means the mouth. Pi tehom, the mouth of the ravine. Because how the body evil inclination is getting stronger when a person is eating unconsciously. To eat and to drink. Because that's one part of how we make ourselves miserable and how we get ourselves enslaved. Because that mouth is saying, give me to eat and to drink. And why the mouth of the ravine? Because the ravine is never full, never satiated. And that's why we see how we eat, not just to be satiated, not just to feed our body. We eat and it's never ending. And we just look around and look at ourselves, we see enough examples. The other city is Ramses. That's the other name. And we can say Ramses is a name of a pharaoh. Right? That was the name of Pharaoh. No, he's saying, Rabbi Chaim Vital, Ra, Meses. It's two words in Hebrew. Ra is evil, Meses is the belly. So, some people say, oh, I need to put something in my mouth. And some people say, I need to put something in my belly. It's the two different sides of that body control. However, it says the more they torture him, they torture them, or they torture him. It says in single in the Torah, to torture him. Who is him? The soul. Who is torturing the soul? The powers of impurity, the powers of the evil inclination. Then the more he grows, the more powerful he becomes. So why? Because as long as the body is growing up, more soul is coming in as the child is growing. Exodus was like the birth. And the 10 plagues are also like the different steps of the birth. So we can go on and go on with that story, but we already have some example for what's going on. So let's go for the concentration of what this parasha is about. Let's go to the Zohar. And the Zohar, that was the remez. Now we go to the secret. And he said the Zohar is starting, והמשכילים יזהירו כזוהר הרקיע ומצדיקי הרבים ככוכבים לעולם ועד. It's a verse from the book of Daniel, chapter 12. And it says, והמשכילים יזהירו, and the people of wisdom will shine like the shining, the glamour, the splendor of the heavens. And that word, splendor of the heavens, that's the name of the Zohar. That's why I call the book of Zohar is called Zohar after that wisdom. What kind of wisdom? When you're talking about the final redemption, the final redemption can come only with wisdom that is shining from the heavens, like the splendor of the heaven. And that's called the book of splendor, the Zohar. Okay? So what's the connection? And here he says, who are the wise people? These are the ones who can see the secrets of wisdom. Why really things happen? What's the real thing behind everything? So now, the Rabbi Ashlag is saying that, what does it mean? That the Zohar it says that these are the people that achieved the level of the wisdom and the secrets of wisdom. And wisdom is called the light of the eyes. And understanding its wisdom, or getting the level of perceiving the wisdom. You know, wisdom you can read in a book, doesn't mean you got it. Okay? So the word is to perceive or to get the wisdom. It's called histaklut, which means looking. So Rabbi Ashlag is giving us the code words that the Bible is using, the 24 books of the Bible. So when it says that the people of wisdom will shine like the splendor of the heavens, and so we're talking about something, it's light that you can see, but not everybody can see that light. So when we say, even in modern English, and somebody is enlightened, it doesn't mean he goes with a light bulb stuck to his ear or something like this. It means that the person is wise enough to shine his wisdom to others. So deep inside our soul we have it. That's why it comes out in different metaphors that people are using all around the planet. Okay. So that wisdom, when it comes down to our world, it has to come down through all kinds of curtains, because most people do not see the wisdom. And if you achieve the level of wisdom, it's not that easy. You have to break a lot of stuff inside yourself, a lot of stupidities. You have to go through a lot of, through a whole road in order, basically, as we learned, basically to earn, because the wisdom is a source of real pleasure. A person who has wisdom can have a real pleasure. People with no wisdom, their level of pleasure is maybe physical. However, it's very short-lasting. It's not a really something that stays. It's a hit and run, temporary relief. So, when we're talking about that, then Rabbi Ashlag continues over here. When it says that the verse is starting with the word Israel, these are the names of the children of Israel. Now, using the word Israel is using, as we learned in the previous book, in Genesis, it's a higher level. Why? Israel, first of all, has the letters of Li Rosh, my head. It's the head. Israel is also the initials of Abraham and Sarah, Aleph and Sin, Isaac and Rivka, Yud and Reish, Jacob, Rachel, and Leah. You have Yud, Reish, and Lamed. So the word Israel is all of them together, all the three patriarchs and four matriarchs, that each one of them, as we learned in the previous classes, that these are chariots of the higher levels of the tree of life. So when you talk about the word Israel, you mean something that comes from above, the higher level of consciousness, which is above the heaven. Above which is the heaven is kind of a firmament or a curtain that does not allow you to see all the secrets that are above. And when that light is coming through the curtain, it's coming down, it's coming to Jacob. And that's why the verse says, these are the names of the children of Israel coming to Egypt with Jacob. Why Jacob? We just started with Israel. To show these are the lights shining from above, from the level that is called Israel, through the curtain, down to that level that is called Jacob. Because Jacob is the heel. The heel is the lowest part of the body, the thickest, the less sensitive, the part that is connected to the ground. That's the body consciousness. And that's why it says, each one of them came with his household, with his house, which is, this is the physical dressing, the physical outfit, the outside, that has the power of the soul inside. And our world, as human beings, is to reveal these secrets that came from above, lost down here in the physical world. And how? By our everyday walk. And there's a beautiful legend, story that Kabbalists are talking about that give about it, and Rabbi Ashlag especially. And the story is about that person that in old days, and he was kind of a useless human being. The family sent him to study and to be an apprentice to blacksmith, no good, to shoemaker, no good. Every job that he got, it was no good. So the whole family sat together, what do we do with that person? Then one of the elders of the family said, I have an idea. I know that deep in the ocean, there's an island. And on this island, there are diamonds everywhere. However, it takes years to sail over there. Let's collect money. Buy our family member a ticket. It doesn't give us any good over here. Send him to that island. After a few years, he will arrive to the island, collect the diamonds, which is not such a complicated job. Fill up some bags with diamonds. Come back. When he comes back, we all will be rich, and he will have a feel that he deserves to be supported by the family because he made us rich. Everybody agreed that this is a genius idea. They bought him a ticket, put him on a ship, and the ship sailed, and years later, it arrives its destination, gets off the ship to the shores, and there are diamonds all everywhere. He gets his bags, starts to fill up the bags. He's so excited to do. Can you imagine a person like this is frustrated that he's useless? Finally, he has so many diamonds, he can't stop collecting the diamonds. Meanwhile, the ship sails back home, and he's collecting the diamonds. So one of the natives passing by and saying, "Hi, how are you? Looks like you're a new one." Say, "Yes." "Didn't you realize that the ship sailed already?" "Oh, I didn't know." "When is the next ship coming?" Says, "Years, till it sails back and forth. That's many years. Meanwhile, you have to make a living. You can't sell diamonds to anyone over here." So the guy says, "What can I do? Do you have any job open in the island?" And he says, "Yes. Our last candle maker just passed away." And that was a secret passing in the family for many generations. When he passed away, he took his secret to the grave. He was the last one. So we all sitting in the dark at night. Do you know how to make candles? So our fellow was an apprentice of a candle maker. So he knows how to make candles. Crooked candles, but when there are no other candles, you are the one. So he opened a business of making candles. Everybody bought his candles. He became a very important and rich person. Years go by, and finally the ship has come back. He collects the precious stuff he has in the house, puts them in boxes, and gets them on the ship. When he comes back to his home, the whole family is taking him from the port, bringing him to the house, close the windows, the shutters, the veils, the curtains, so nobody will see. And then they break the boxes. And piles of candles pour out of the boxes. Everybody is starting to scream, "What have you done? What is that? Why did you bring candles?" And he says, "Candles are the most precious and expensive things you can find." Say, "You're crazy, where are the diamonds?" "Oh my God, I forgot." And this story is about us. We're coming here to the body, we're coming here to this world. We have to survive. So we need to feed our mouth. And instead of just feeding ourselves, we make that to become our slavery. Because it cannot be just simple bread, it has to be a whole bread, it has to be bread with all kinds of additives, it has to be with this kind of food and this kind of food, this kind of restaurant, and then it's not just a restaurant, it's just also the utensils, and it's also the silver stuff, and and you build a whole civilization around it, when the whole story is that we came to this world to collect the diamonds. And collecting the diamonds is finding the wisdom, and especially when that convert some 2,000 years ago is asking Rabbi Akiva, "Teach me the whole Torah while I'm standing on one foot." And Rabbi Akiva does not say, "You fool, how can I teach you such a broad wisdom, endless wisdom, standing on one foot?" The guy came from the right place, and he said, "Look, I'm a convert. I just started to learn. This wisdom is broad as an ocean. I can drown. How would I know I'm in the right direction? Because sometimes half of the truth is worse than the lie. How do I know that I'm on the wrong path or the right path?" Rabbi Akiva is saying, "Love thy neighbor as thyself." When you can create love, when you find yourself create love out of darkness, out of hatred, out of misunderstanding, you are on the right direction. When you find yourself that achieving justice, achieving wisdom, achieving whatever you think is right to achieve brings hatred, you're in the wrong direction. You have to make a U-turn and get out of there and find another direction. This is the whole thing. These diamonds are everywhere. How many times a day a human being can be a human being, can be a mensch, can share and care, and only when you do that you start to achieve and you start to bring out those sparks of light, which is the sparks of the creation that are sunk and lost inside this physical world, inside yourself, inside your fellow human beings, inside everything you do. And this is what this parasha is about. It's about, when we're talking about the redemption, it's about something that is very powerful. It's about one of the most powerful and strongest inventions of the Bible, the message of the Bible. How? When we read the commentary of the book of Exodus in the Zohar, the Zohar is explaining those stuff, of course, in a much broader way than I just explained. However, sooner or later, it starts to talk about the final redemption. And in verse 96, in the Zohar, Fasulam, Rabbi Ashal's commentary, it says as follows: Rabbi Shimon raised his hands and cried, and said, "Woe to those who will live at that time of redemption. And praiseworthy is the one who will be able to be there and exist at that time." And he explains, "Woe to those who will be at that time, is because when the Holy Blessed Being will come for the redemption, he will look who is standing with the Shekhinah, who is standing with that divine presence, the light of the Creator that is dwelling in that physical world that we live in, and he will look at the deeds of each one of them. He won't find a righteous person. As it says, and I will look and nobody helps. And how many troubles will be to the nation of Israel, to Israel. Praiseworthy will be there at that time, because the person who will be there at that time with real emunah, faith, he will merit the light of the happiness of the king. And about that time it says, and I will cleanse them like you cleanse the silver, and like cleansing the gold. From here on, the Zohar is bringing a lot of text that is called the coming of the Messiah. And why the major articles in the Zohar about the coming of the Messiah, why the place for them is in Parashat Shemot? And the answer is very simple. Very simple. The concept behind the book of Exodus, that, as we said before, influenced mankind in many generations. Because when the slaves in America wanted to get freedom, what did they use? Let my people go. Every time somebody wanted to get a whole nation out of slavery, let my people go. To get the Jews out of the Soviet Union, let my people go. We're talking about a message. Yeah, the message is very of today. It's of today because we're not talking just about people all around the world. We're talking about each one of us. And we have to understand by this the message of the Messiah. This message can be easily corrupted because who does not want somebody to come and save me from my miseries? Most people can live with the dream and the faith somebody is going to come and redeem us. However, the basic understanding or wisdom behind it is totally different. Yes, we are going to be redeemed, but we're not going to sit and wait till somebody will redeem us. The redemption is something that each one of us is supposed to be busy with, because redemption is a job. Redemption is not a dream. Redemption, according to the Kabbalists, is something of every day, every hour. And this is what the story of the book of Shemot is about. The book of Shemot, especially the first 6 parashot, are known in Kabbalah the weeks of Shovavim. Shovavim is the initials, Shemot, Va'era, Bo, Beshalach, Yitro, Mishpatim. These are the 6 names of the 6 parashot covering the book of Exodus. Especially the story of Exodus. Now, what's so important about that is that when what the Kabbalists are revealing to us, the same way we read these stories during these 6 weeks, it's not by mistake or by coincidence or by whim. It is because there's a cosmic transformation happening in the universe every year during these 6 weeks. And during these 6 weeks, we have to start or take a journey of redemption. Each one of us from his own Egypt. What is our own Egypt? First of all, this week is a time to sit and think, what is my Egypt? As Rabbi Ashlag is saying, knowledge or acknowledging the evil is most of the job of cleansing it. The moment you understand that a trait, a desire, a way of thinking within me is evil, that moment I'm already disconnected from that state of mind. Why? Because every time it comes, my consciousness is saying, but this is not me. This is something I would like to be aware of. So, every year, during the 6 weeks, we get a present. And the present is, we can achieve a kind of a redemption. Each one of us with his own private and personal individual redemption. During these 6 weeks, the next coming 6 weeks, we should be much, much, much better people. We should be people that have less Egypt, less Mitzrayim. The word Mitzrayim is Meitzarim, narrow. Less narrow-mindedness, less fears, less selfishness, less all of this stuff that makes us slaves. Why it's called Shovavim? As we said, Shovavim once is the initials of these Parashat. Shovavim in Hebrew also, Shovav means naughty, in modern Hebrew. But in ancient Hebrew, Shovav means somebody who's behaving in a reckless, irresponsible way. And that's usually what we call little kids. Like rascals. However, grown-ups have also moments of behavior in a way that you look at the person and you say, like, how could he do that? What made you do that? Or you look at yourself and tell yourself, how could I do that? What made me do that? You know, it's so shameful. How could I do that? I will never forgive myself. And basically that's what studying Kabbalah is about. Studying Kabbalah is about the here and the now. We are embarking on a journey. We're embarking on a journey of Exodus for the next 6 weeks. We're taking upon ourselves to make a list of how my Egypt looks like. What kind of traits I want to get out of. How do I want to let my people, the powers of the soul, as we said, the powers of my soul, that are right now endangered, limited, enslaved with the power of the body, with the power of all kinds of prejudice, beliefs, systems, whatever that makes us being slaves. So in this week, this is the time to start building that energy within ourselves. Every week during these 6 weeks, we're going to get a different job, different consciousness, different help from above, different push. How to push ourselves so in the end we can come to Mount Sinai revelation and get the law. So now, why calling it the Book of Names? The Book of Names. And the Kabbalists explain and teach us that when a person wants to redeem himself, you can't redeem yourself. You can't pull yourself out of the dungeon, out of misery by yourself. You need the help. You need the help of God. You need the help of God. Of course, how can you hold God's hand? God's hand is given to you. How can you hold it? God is not something that has a physical hand. It's not a physical hand to hold. So, in order to do that, you hold God's names. Concentrating, meditating, contemplating on God's names is one of the tricks the Kabbalists used for generations and generations in order to elevate our consciousness from where we're stuck to where we want to reach. And that's why during these 6 weeks we have the stories of all the holy names that Moses used in the miracles in Egypt. And then we had the splitting in the Red Sea and the revelation of the 72 holy names of God. And then, if that was not enough, if we count the verses in the book of in the Parashat Ito, Mount Sinai and Revelation, the 2 tablets are given. That's 72 verses in that parasha. It's all about one thing. You want to reach out and above, you have to find, like Archimedes said, if I have a point to lean, I can move the whole earth. But I need a point outside of earth. If you want to move yourself, you need a point to lean that is outside of yourself. And what is it? It's God. How do you connect to God? Use His names. Why does He have so many names? Because each name is a different illumination for a different need, in a different vibration, because the universe is a variable. It has a lot of colors. Why does the universe have a lot of colors? Because humans are made of a lot of different human beings. The same way the sages are saying, the same way people's faces are never the same. It's because their souls and thoughts and desires are never the same. Why? Each one of us is a different aspect of God Himself. And so when we're coming back to the concept of redemption that the Bible brought to the world, the concept of redemption could be, and like religions did many times, wrong. Redemption is, you see this guy, he will redeem you. And that's wrong, because in that moment, you are not empowered anymore to achieve the redemption by yourself. And since a human being, in Genesis chapter 1, we learn that Adam was created in the image of God. And as long as I have the image of God, as long as I'm alive, I have the right, the duty, and the message to be the Messiah, to be a redemption, to generate a redemption. So during these 6 weeks, we will have all kinds of events happening in our lives. We will have all kinds of hardships that will happen in our lives, troubles these are the plagues. This is redemption. And as we said before, this is the birth. When the child is growing in his mother's womb, it's very nice to both. Of course, there's always exceptions, but pregnancy it's a good experience. But giving birth, it's pretty painful. It's painful. Afterward, you can say a woman that gave birth, that was an amazing experience, but very few of them will tell you that in the middle of giving birth, right? Oh, I'm feeling so great, it's amazing, right? I don't think so. Many women say, oh, that was an amazing experience. Yes, when it's over.
Not even. I all remember how painful it was.
Yes. So we know that going through the redemption is like giving birth. And as we say many times, it has never happened that a child came out of the womb between the tzirim, between the contractions. Never happened. A child comes only during a big, painful, strong contraction. Nobody can achieve personal redemption. Experience like sitting on the beach and drinking pina colada. That never happens. The personal redemption is being achieved through hard work, a lot of pressure, a lot of pain. And when a person realizes that this is the time to find faith, because what is faith? You know what the Zohar says? If you can hold on to faith during these days, you will see the light of the happiness of the King. What is faith? Faith, the Zohar is explaining, is the ability of a human being to connect the higher world and the lower world with his mind to become one. And what does it mean? It means that do not believe ever to what you see. Do not believe ever to what you feel with your senses. Just remember one thing. Everything that happens is for a good reason. Everything that happens has a message, has a meaning. Later on, if you don't understand why now, you'll understand later on. But everything is coming from a good place because everything is coming for one purpose. What is this purpose? We fell from heaven. like the angels. There was the sin of Adam, and we fell from heaven. And we explained before that falling from heaven does not just meaning death, but it means that the light of completeness is called Israel. So that, and when it comes to the physical world, it's called Yaakov, Jacob. Why? Because Israel, we said, is connecting to the upper levels. That's a state of mind. It's a consciousness. It's a light. It's the world above the curtain. The world below the curtain. Jacob, Yaakov is the heel. The world is connected to the physical world. Is the physical world. Now, a human being came to this world to redeem the world. To be...
What is in Hebrew redemption?
Geula. A person that is coming to this world is coming to create his own redemption. That's what the Kabbalists see about. I got up in the morning because today, this day, there are revelations of consciousness. There are sparks of light that are stuck in the physical world. And every time that I transform some anger, some mistrust, some envy, any kind of other negativity into positivity, and by saying there must be a good reason for that, and finding how to inject light in a place of darkness, how to transform that moment of darkness into light. In that moment, I elevated a spark, a lost spark of the creation, and brought it back to its origin. It's called the process of redemption. And that's why the Kabbalists are saying that during these 6 weeks there's a cosmic opening. That it's much easier to elevate lost sparks. What does it mean, lost sparks? During the fall of Adam, as again, falling from the level of Israel to the level of Jacob, from the level of above the curtain to the level of below the curtain, from the level of everything open and wise and beautiful and no limitation, to the level that stupidity and no understanding and limitation and so on. This is our level. Being a human being is a person of faith. What is faith? That your mind, that a person of faith is a person that is mind is up in the clouds, and his feet are rooted deep in the earth at the same time. And that means that when you work and you make money, you always learn and always know that there's no separation between spirituality and success. You cannot cheat in business and go and pray in the house of prayer and be with so much devotion. It doesn't go together. The concept is that the light of God is in that penny that you're holding, that you're just buying something or selling something. Is in these words that you have replaced with your employees, employers, customers, suppliers, whatever. Anything that you do is holy. And elevating that consciousness from the level of Jacob, the level of earth, to the level of Israel, the level of the heaven. It's all what life is about. This is the message. I'm not here to change diapers. I'm not here to make a living, to make money, and to feed my mouth, and so on. But yeah, you have to do that. You have to do that. But you have to see how do you put spiritual consciousness. Because in the food you eat, there's also spiritual sparks. And that's why you have to treat your food in a different way. It's not just dirt. It's holy. And so during these 6 weeks, and especially starting today, starting the week of Shemot, the week of Exodus, Parashat Shemot, we understand that redemption is a message. That redemption is a message of the coming of the Messiah. Is a message that is every day. It's about understanding that everything that is negative is temporary. It's not going to stay there. It's something to be fixed. And that's the concept of tikkun. during this week is called the Tikkun of Shovavim. Tikkun means fixing. And Tikkun is also in present tense. It's something you fix all the time, because what life is about? Life is about fixing. Life is not about settling in your slavery and settling with it. So, with this message, we wish everyone a very successful week and 6 weeks, and we'll continue next week. Thank you.